Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Champions Path, make sure you go ahead and check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using the code Omnipoke. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at a new card from Champions Path. It's going to be Altaria, basically going to be replacing, I believe, Decidueye in the annoying wall archetype that we have seen have a bit of success, to be honest, in online tournaments. Decidueye Obstagoon has combined an annoying attack with an annoying ability, and we're trying to replicate the same thing here, this time in a stage 1 form. Hopefully that gives the deck A, more space, B, more speed, and C, because you get to use more colorless energy, you get to take advantage of capture energies more often than you can with the Deci-based builds, because you have to combine dark energies, grass energies, and captures / weak guards to help out against that Volk. Here, you can just play the Big Charms to stay out of Volcanion range and have more captures, which hopefully means you get more Swablu's, more Jirachis, more Zigzagoons on the board early, so that you can set up your game plan much more often with this little energy package that we got going on here alongside Piers, which makes kind of its debut in a deck like this, where previously you were more tipped towards the Decidueye side, where you had turf fields and that sort of stuff. Here, we're just trying to rock the Altarias as much as possible. Obstagoon obviously comes in clutch in some certain situations. So let's go through the brand new card. Altaria is basically the new age version of Decidueye. It's a stage 1 with the exact same ability as Decidueye. This time it's called Miraculous Charm, preventing all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's V and GX. You have the Speed Dive attack, which does 60 damage. Not super impressive. Your hit points is 110 as well, so again, not super impressive. But we have a couple of ways we can try and buff that and make that damage stronger as well. The Obstagoon not only in here to help out with Obstruct, of course, but also we have Zigzagoon pings and Obstagoon pings in there as well to deal even more damage throughout the game. So yeah, I think Altaria, just getting on that board quicker is sometimes such a big deal against a ton of different decks. Just making that ability stick so quickly means we're less reliant on Rare Candy, which is such a saving grace. And your early game is just much more secure, I think. Your game plan is online quicker, and that's what it's all about, really. So yeah, hopefully this Altaria is able to 1v1 against a lot of the one prize cards out in the format right now. I think the only real notable thing you're weaker against is like Hoopers and Zigzagoons in Eternatus. So you're slightly more vulnerable against that matchup, the Eterna matchup. But I think with double Big Charm, with a ton of Scoop Up Nets anyway, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. They really need to combine a bunch of things all together. 60 damage, you know, you're still like two-shotting those Hoopers, whereas the Decidueye would be like one-shotting them and clearing them off the board a lot easier. But we can be pretty proactive with our Zigzagoon and Obstagoon line as well. So nothing really to say about the Swablu. It's just vanilla, but it does have a 1 retreat cost, which kind of helps with the capture energy shenanigans if we need to go into Jirachi in the early turns. So yeah, hopefully Altaria just sort of gets on the board quicker. That's really the only selling point it has over Decidueye. Its attack is like worse, but you're there quicker, and you get there much more often without feeding your opponent a bunch of Rowlets, and then you just kind of lose because you're an inconsistent mess. Hopefully you're less of an inconsistent mess, which is the dream, really. You then have a 4-0-3 line of Obstagoon, 4 Zigzagoons, Tantrum, Headbutt Tantrum really is useful. That early game 70 is such a big deal against evolving stuff, as well as Jirachis for the most part. Opposing Zigzagoons and stuff like that can be a big deal. And let's face it, the 60 just isn't getting the job done a lot, so you're looking to two-shot a lot of the one prize stuff, and Zigzagoon again can chip in if they have like 130, 140 hit points, that sort of range. So yeah, Zigzagoon very helpful for that, as well as being the launchpad to Galarian Obstagoon. Obstagoon can deal even more damage when it comes into play. You get to place 3 counters on one of your opponent's dudes. Again, we're not playing any Gust at all in this list. We are just trying to let damage counter placement do things to finish things off. You can definitely think about adding in like Fion or Bosses if you want to. I thought about playing like 1 copy of Boss, but without Cynthia Caitlyn it feels kind of like rough, so you'd have to try and like morph the whole list around that sort of approach. So for now, we're just hoping that we can keep announcing the right attack, and in many situations, Obstruct is the right attack. For that dark, colorless attack cost, you do 90. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. This is obviously going to be how we will try to beat out the likes of ADP, where Altaria can get pretty much bodied by like Orangaroos or Duraludons. You're hoping that an Obstagoon can just stick, and then you're just announcing Obstruct the entire time. The only real issue from then on is more Wild GX putting a bunch of things into play and then gusting around you, but we do have Scoop Up Nets to try and like retrieve those sorts of Pokemon. So the Obstagoon line is going to be your main means of beating ADP, also going to be really good against things like Luke Metal, a bunch of different situations where Altaria isn't the strongest. Like, I feel Altaria is the carry in a lot of matchups, but Obstagoon sort of chips in against, definitely ADP is probably the most important one, I would say, of the top tier decks. Also things like Welder Box, like Baby Blounds type things, you're very good against. Pikarom, ton of good things, to be honest. The Obstagoon can chip in, not only with damage, but also Obstruct being a win condition. So I feel like we lean more towards that Obstruct in this list than you do the Decidueye list, just based on sort of the energy counts that we have, and Piers making it that much more accessible means Obstagoon is kind of online quicker than you would see in the Decidueye builds, in my opinion. We then have 4 Jirachis. Stellar Wishing in the early turns is always a big deal. Working towards candies, working towards comms, the Evo Incense that we play, supporters, that sort of stuff. We don't have much engine going on here at all, but Stellar Wish to try and pick things up and make us not just get wrecked by early game Marnies and stuff, obviously going to be helpful to us there. For trainer cards, we have 1 Ordinary Rod, just to try and recycle some Pokemon, and potentially a couple energies here and there. We do play 12 energy, which is actually like quite on the high side compared to the Decidueye base list, but the energies are also helpful, that I like having them in the deck. So yeah, we play 1 Evo Incense for extra Stellar Wish outs, but also because we play Rosa, so in situations, well, some situations can come up where you want to Rosa for a Pokemon as well as an Incense, so you can get your basic from the Rosa, then the Evo Incense, or vice versa. You can get the Evolution, then you can get the Quick Ball. You can do it either way with the one of Incense, which is fine. Triple Com and 4 Quick Ball, try and get our Pokemon out as quickly as possible. Alongside those, that high count of Capture Energy hopefully should give us a decent chance of doing that. 3 Rare Candies to get into our Goons. Typically, if you are going for the Goon strat, you're going for the lone Obstagoon. He just sits there up on his own, keeps like announcing Obstruct turn by turn until your opponent is kind of just done. So that's the idea there. You don't need to candy too much more often. We got the Scoop Up Net, so you can do the lone Goon strategy. It can be a pseudo means of healing your guys as well as obviously moving your Jirachi. We don't play any switch in here. It's just going to be the Scoop Up Nets for the most part. We then have 2 copies of a bunch of supporters. Marnie for some disruption on our opponent's end, as well as some shuffle, draw, hand refresh for us. Couple copies of Piers. This is something you don't really see in the Decidueye base list, but it's a great way for us to access some energy cards, and we play 3 different specials in this list. The Twin Energies works towards our speed dive. It's also viable for obstructing. Hiding Energy is actually really helpful, so you can put an early energy drop on Zigzagoon, but also get into like a Jirachi or put something else into the active. So it's a great way to protect your Zigzagoon in the early turns and also just give yourself a pivot in a lot of situations. And the captures, again, early game piercing for capture to get either the Zigzagoon or the Swablu, or even just capturing the active, retreating into a Jirachi for a Stellar Wish to keep yourself moving. Always a good deal. So Piers, very, very versatile, whilst also helping towards getting the Goon line out. They're kind of like more proactive means of Rosaring if Obstagoon is kind of the main target man. So yeah, I think Piers really does suit this list quite well. Rosa as well, also very good. That's why we still play a few basic energies in here. Obviously, it can be recycled with Rod as well. Rosa trying to capitalize on those turns where we suffer knockouts in the early turns. It's not quite as strong as it is in the Decidueye base list, because so often you're looking for Twin Energy, but I still find it extremely viable, especially because, you know, there's nothing stopping you attaching any of these other energies to Swablu's in the early turns and then just doing a manual attachment like 2 times over to get your Altaria into play. So Rosa's still very decent in that regard. Play a couple copies of Big Charm. I think this is really important so Altaria can stay out of reach of those Hoopers and Zigzagoon kind of combos against the Eterna matchup. I also think it's really important against Volcanions. You're trying to 2-shot them with Speed Dive, so you've got to try and make sure they're 2-shotting you back with their 110 damage attack from, what's it called? Heat something, Heat Blast, I can't remember what it is. All I remember is Flare Starter, yeah. But yeah, Big Charms make you a little bit more tanky, which is nice. We're playing the double Big Parasol as well, so we can prevent effects of attacks. This is one main way that Mewtwo tries to get around the Decigoon matchup. They're trying to use things like Muck to poison to get around the ability. Here you can Big Parasol onto Altaria and be protected from that. So that's obviously very good. This can come up in a ton of other ways as well. If people are trying to status condition the Obstagoon to stop obstructing, that sort of stuff. So yeah, the Parasol, definitely a handy tool as well to have in the list. From there, we have a bunch of different energies. I've kind of talked about why I like the Altaria more than Decidueye, and it's mostly down to the energy usage that we get to play. Twin, obviously, just a one attachment deal, so you need less on your opening turns to still be pressurizing turn 2. You have those captures to get into stuff. You have those hidings to make your Obstagoon a pivot, which is nice, puts less pressure on Jirachi finding nets all the time. And yeah, that's what it's all about, really. You can definitely think about playing things like Fione, which has been in the deck, in the Decidueye-based deck quite a lot for forcing things out of the active. I can see that being a play if your opponent is just stalling for turns, basically. Similarly, you could think about playing Boss's Orders. There's also, of course, Cynthia Caitlyn that you can consider in the list, and just regular switches to increase your outs to Stellar Wishing, maybe get a chain going of Jirachis, rather than just relying on just one Stellar Wish quite often. But yeah, at the moment, this is like a decent baseline, I think, for Altaria. So let's give it a whirl, see how it plays in comparison to Decidueye. I've played a few different ways of Altaria so far. I've tried it with like Roxy Wheezing, with like Dugongs and a few other fun things like that. I've tried it with Flapple and Turfield, which is fun as well. Basically, the 60 damage is really poor, right? So you lose 1v1s versus the 1 prizes that your opponent plays more often than you would with Decidueye, because 90 and 220 snipes is a lot more pressure. So you need to try and offset that by having damage mods, and it just so happens that Obstagoon's a damage mod that is a win condition in his own right as well. So that's why we're rocking this combo right now. Let me know what you guys think of Decigoons as well, because I think I've only really profiled straight Decidueye, and I haven't really given much insight into what I think about Decigoons. But today we're trying to showcase the new stuff from Champions Path. By the way, just so that you're aware, I know that I've got the OPOP League stuff on, but I don't have a normal banner, and I think that Jack's done such a good job that I'm going to show it off in as many videos as possible. Looks like we are up against Eternatus, so it's probably going to be a mostly Altaria-based game, which is fine. Our opponent is going to begin by getting a couple Eternas out, probably Absol as well, which is fine. Let's see what sort of 1 prize Pokemon they play. Spiritomb is obviously easy for Altaria to knock out. Also, Hoopers, we normally need to try and commit some Zigzagoon pings towards it. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, they're just going to attach and pass it over to us. We are going to... I think I'm tossing away the Piers here. Happy to Marnie into this, I think. I'm just going to make another Swablu. We're going to have a look at how many Altarias we have. We have 3. Our Rod is here as well. We do have all of our twins around. We're just going to go double Swablu. I mean, I could even just hiding active and pass, but then it's really relying on the Marnie doing stuff. So we'll give ourselves a bit more leeway. If he bosses, he bosses. That's fine. Not gonna commit the Big Charm just yet. I will put down Jirachi though. I think that's fine. Yep, and we'll pass there. Piers can get us into a hiding energy if they don't knock out Zigzagoon for some reason. Piers can also get us into another DCE, so we can start doing Altaria hits even with this one. So it's down to them to start finding their 1 prize dudes to get through our Altaria army. We haven't seen if they're just playing Zigzagoon nets with Hoopers and Spiritombs, or if they're playing maybe some poison stuff. Who knows? There's a few different ways of playing Eternatus these days. Looks like they are just power excelling. A very slow turn from them. And with that, we will go ahead and grab our hiding energy. I'm going to go ahead and grab... we do actually hit the candy off the top, so I'm happy to Candy Goon at some point. I think I want to save the damage for when it's actually more relevant. I'm going to go ahead and Big Charm active as well. And we'll start putting pressure on the board. Not a lot of pressure, of course, but it's more than none. Opponent's going to boss us up here. They're going to attach to Crobat. Looks like their hand is just energy cards. So we can't attach Retreat because of Absol. So we'll just pass. Alright, they get a KO on a Swablu. I can go into the free Retreater if I wanted to, but we're basically always doing this play. Alright, we get a fresh hand here. I think we will commit damage to Absol, I guess. Because it's one of the only things I'm afraid of in theory. I'm not afraid of any of these guys because they can't hit me. I could quick wall out a Swablu. Or I could just commit to the Obstagoon. I think Swablu is more important than trying to power up Obstructs at any point. I can capture out another Swablu now as well, which looks good to me. And we will continue to speed dive. Let's see if their top deck or their prize helps our opponent out with their draws, because they've been very slow so far. Looks like they're trying to poison Altaria. Oh no, looks like they're trying to kill Swablu. Okay. Obstruct looking surprisingly appealing here, with what our opponent has done so far. Based on where our opponent's hand is at, it seems okay. Basically, if it forces more energies away from like their one prize stuff, it makes the Altaria line much more viable. Our opponent's just continuing to munch through Swablus, which is fine. We'll just obstruct. Rosa looking decent, so I can get the rod back for some Swablus. Oh boy, they're playing Turbo Patches. They're gonna pick up and put down Absol. Looks like it's before a Crobat or a Research, probably. Viridian. This is gonna be a Marnie. There's the big VMAX. Still not seeing any one prize attackers. Zigzagoon coming in. They're rightfully targeting the Altaria. And a Dread End coming in. So with Scoop Nets in hand, we can go ahead and Stellar Wish a couple times if we want to. I think Rosa for Rod would still be one of our best plays. How many boss down are they? They're down 3 boss. None of this looking too great. I will put back the extra dark energy, seeing as though Viridian's down. Seems helpful. We're trying to go duo Altaria for the rest of the game. Alright. Let's see where it gets us. Don't really have a hand, unfortunately. But it's where we're at right now. Still yet to see any hoopers or anything like that. Here we go. This com's got to show us something. No, nothing. Pre-Crobat draws, I guess. Maybe they're just digging hard for boss here. Attaching to Absol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He does play turbo patches though. Research coming in. Okay. Research is actually the best draw in the deck, and we only had 2 of those, so we'll take that, that's for sure. Okay. Thinner card. And start smacking. Taking a Marnie. Okay. And we'll just keep smacking. I think we're most likely to deck him out than we are to actually win by taking 6 here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 energies. Oh. Are they just out of energy cards? Is he waiting for switch out? Eight's dark energies played. They're trying to hit us with stamp plays, perhaps. Looks like we've come up against one of the least teched Eternals I've seen. I guess they've gone for turbo patches over whatchamacallums. Hoopers and Spiritombs. Trying to look at how many Zigzagoons and nets I've played. 2 goons, 2 nets. In theory, I can ping him down, but yeah, he's just out. There's some weird PCGO glitchy stuff going on. They will take a win against, like I said, one of the least prepared Eternals out there, but Spiritomb seems to be the go-to because of how popular Decidueye is right now. And that's easier for Altaria to deal with than the Hoopers. Sometimes they still play 1 or 2 Hoopers, though. So be slightly aware of that. But hopefully big charmed Altarias can get you there. Our opponent got overzealous with attachments, I think, in the early turns. I'm happy going first with this deck because of the nature of how many quick balls, captures, and that we're quad Jirachi based. And it means that we're pressurizing as quickly as possible, so it could mean that we get an extra attachment in against ADP, for example, so that we're getting into the headbutt tantrums as quickly as possible. Alright, we're seeing an... Well, it could be a welder box, could be Blounds, or it could be Senti. Senti being the hardest of the lot, because they play a ton of Volks, but they also play an answer to Obstagoon. So we'll see. Looks like it is Center Scorch. Center Scorch is a pretty rough matchup, I would say. We'll start with this. So Parasol's not important. Big Charms are important. I have a Piers for next turn, but it doesn't get me towards the full Altaria. Thinking if I just want to grab another Jirachi instead here. Or am I just Rosaring next turn? I guess I could Rosa next turn. Piers not being entirely mandatory if I'm just attaching one of these. We'll just hold this just in case I hit Com off the top. And because I want the pings to be directed to a Heatran rather than a Volk rather than a Jirachi. Wow, they play Distortion Door Giratina. Oh, sorry, Dimension Breach Giratina, I should say. Spicy. Alright, we see the first Volk come down. Sometimes it can literally be the case if they play 3, we win. If they play 4, we lose. It can actually be that close of a back and forth, so we'll see how this goes. When we're not playing boss, we can't be the proactive guy, but because he's attached to the Volk, maybe he wants to proactively Flare Starter. We'll see. I'm going to toss away a fire for a Jirachi. Potentially more Stellar Wishes coming down. As they look for Welder, probably. He could be looking to weld and just High Heat Blast through the Jirachi to initiate that prize race. Stifle the Stellar Wishes. Excuse me, stifle the Stellar Wishes. Is a mouthful, apparently. I've got a bit of a cold coming on. An actual cold, not the cold, you know. Alright, more Jirachi switcherooskis. As they continue to hunt for stuff. More options, more attempts if they really want to. Does let him still Flare Starter. That's what we're seeing by the looks of things. That's the Giant Hearth as well. Just trying to thin as much as possible by the looks of things. Alright, we get to have another Stellar Wish. We potentially can proactively hit this Volk as well, which helps a bunch. Alright, 2 and 2, makes a lot of sense. Okay, we will begin by Stellar Wishing. No Com, unfortunately. I'll toss this Parasol. We'll pick up this Jirachi, put it back down. We can Big Charm. I'll begin to Zigzagoon the active. We'll play the Marnie, hoping for energy Altaria. No energies, sucks. So it looks like we're hiding out in the back. Rosa not that helpful. I'll only evolve the one that has the Big Charm, because otherwise I'm giving him an extra freebie. And we've got to pass there. Okay. Hopefully no boss coming down. Much prefer him knocking out Jirachi than the Swablu's. Or starting to put pressure on Altaria, also an issue. Bit of a shame to whiff off of our Marnie there. We play a pretty hefty amount of energy cards, 12 in total. More Volks coming onto the scene now. Our opponent's sort of getting the drift of what we're up to. And a high heat blast for the active, which is kind of the best thing for us, to be honest. Right, I am going to grab another Zig here, so we can, in theory, put this down to 30 away, which means it's then in candy range. That's why we picked up this one, so this one's still able to be Candy Obstagooned. Missing all again is rough, that's for sure. I have to think if I want to sponge for a turn, because we really don't have much else going on in the hand. Sponge attach, like here. So then any energy top deck is a good draw. I guess it's the same if I do it here. Yeah, let's do it here, because I can always scoop up net if I really need to. Alright, these Marnies haven't been the kindest to us. You really want to try and be as proactive as possible into their Volks, but it'd be like that sometimes. Alright, we're going to take the 100. Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Alright, take my Swablu. It's a war of attrition, and a conventional prize race isn't what we're trying to win here. We're trying to run him out of valid attackers. No boss on Altaria is very good news. We have Scoop Up Net, so I can still I can promote anything, I guess. Capture Energy is just a bait. I guess this is enough half decent cards to. Actually, I can Capture Energy out Jirachi here. So Rosa gets me Obstagoon to put this into 60 range. Piers can also get me Obstagoon, and it gets me a triple. Sorry, a double. Just in case he Gust kills this. Slowly, slowly. We're giving up a lot of prizes in the process, though, which is the bad thing, right? We've only seen 2 Volks so far, though. That's the good news. Only 2 Volks, potentially. If they only play 2, it's pretty decent news for us. Oh, Malolana! My life points. You hate to see it. It's a healing build. All of our work. All of our Ziggy pings. Yikes. They play Scoop Up Nets as well. A lot of Monka-esque going on right now. The feels. I guess this is a better outcome than bossing, to be fair. And let's just remember how toast a Decidueye build would be right now in comparison. Like, it's much easier for us to chain 60s than it is for Decidueye to chain 90s, you know what I mean? So, even with our horrific draws, we still have more of a win condition than the Decidueye would against this exact matchup. Ugh, I would have hated to see that come down as well. Alright, there's the High Heat Blast. We have 3 prizes to go. We have a lot of prizes on the board for them. Only 1 Scoop Up Net remaining. We can evolve this out of an easy prize, in theory, if we can get through the Volks. But I think our start has just been so abysmal that we're not going to be able to get there. It's looking rough for our heroes. I actually think putting that the Jirachi is a mistake. I should have held this card. Because it actually doesn't help us at all, because I only have 1 Scoop Up Net remaining, and I think I need to use the Zigzagoons to get through this guy. Alright. I just have to hope on top deck rather than Stellar Wish here, I think. Let me think. How many top decks are good? 4 Research, 1 Piers, 2 Rosa, and a ton of energy outs. I think we risk. If we Jirachi, Research has to get us into Scoop Up Net, and there's only 1 left. Piers isn't good enough. Rosa's the only card that's good off of Stellar Wish. Yeah, I definitely should have not benched this card. You hate to see it. Alright, we have to concede this. Well, let's just keep the knowledge that Decidueye Goons insta-loses Senti anyway. So having got unlucky in the matchup, making us lose, is maybe feels better than just insta-scooping. Maybe? Or maybe we're still sad. I don't know. That was complete Lego, though. And a Malolana isn't exactly common in Senti either. Let's roll into our 3rd game with Altaria. So far we've had an odd win against Eternatus and a sad L against Senti. Not knowing what we're up against makes me kind of want to go Swablu first. We've actually prized an Altaria and 2 Swablus. Good thing our Rod is here. Also checking that our second Parasol is here, just in case we're going to need that. 2 candies? Yeah. How tempting is going for a second Swablu / going for a Zigzagoon. Probably not ADP because we're seeing Jirachi. Jirachi's in so many decks though. I feel like pressurizing. The Zigzagoon kind of lets me go towards that obstruct line, but also it puts the Jirachi into an Altaria range, so makes a bit of sense to me. We'll get some more insight on what our opponent's playing now. Oh, it could be our rematch against Senti. The return. Where we get to return the favor on him. A matchup where we've prized 2 Swablus and an Altaria. Oh no. Oh boy, they're weldering to Jirachi because not much else is going on here. Wow, okay. So Piers is game. We'll play towards that first, because we always need to scoop up net. And we actually get there. So we will be having one more game. Okay, that's not exactly the redemption arc that we were hoping for. Bit of a bittersweet response. We'll try one more time. Haven't really seen much obstruct action going on. Well, we've weaved it in against Eternatus, I guess, but like I say, because we're evolving, I still like going first with the amount of outs that we actually have for decent turn ones. You can see the comms, the quicks, the nets that we are playing. We have a good variety going on to actually get into the game. If this is ADP like the sleeves are suggesting, could be an obstruct game. Yeah, it looks like it is ADP. So we will begin by going ahead and grabbing a Jirachi. We only have 2 candies available. We have a ton of energies available. None to attach early on, which is a shame. But we're going to pick up the active here. See what's what. Piers looking very good. And we're just going to pile a couple Zigs onto the active. Pass it over. This is definitely a lone goon strat matchup, because Duraludon can chonk through Altarias. You never really want that to happen. Not that Altaria is... Oh, sorry, not that Duraludon's in every list, but it's in enough lists for me to be, like, wary of the Altaria strat. It only takes 1 knockout for them to win a prize race, thanks to the 2 prize knockouts that they take each time. They're kicking off well with the water attachment also being able to toss an energy. 1 E-switch down, so they are having to Intrepid Sword here. which means we can proactively Piers and attach, which is nice. Thinking if I should be wary of any hammer shenanigans they could be playing. I mean, I would just be doing the same thing anyways, right? Should probably play around Marnie. Through damage kind of anywhere at this point. There is indeed a Marnie coming in. It's actually not too bad for us. We're just looking for a retreat out at this point on their Altar Creation turn. Well, that's a retreat out, which is perfection. We will start by quick balling. Research to top it all off is pretty nutty, to be honest. Obviously don't want to put down any dudes. I'll just research. There's the Scoop Up Net, so we are currently lone gooning. We'll throw away this so we're not getting done by more wild plays. And we're just announcing Obstruct from here on. Piers showing how you can be more proactive with this build than the Desi build, which is much more Rosa reliant. So here is their more wild play. You can get one Zigzagoon down, but that's all they're getting. Yep, exactly. They concede when they see only one Pokemon there. So yeah, that is Altaria Obstagoon, a win against an Eterna and an ADP, which is already like a good selling point, I think. Losing to a Center Scorch, which is obviously a big deck in the format, but I still believe this has a stronger matchup than the Decidueye build will have in that matchup. Yes, Decidueye hits more, but it's always 2 attachments at a time, so it's much more sporadic than just doing a 60 continuously with the Altaria. We just never really got there in that matchup. It's one of those things that happens. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Altaria Goons. Let me know if you think it's better or worse than Desi Goons. I've kind of made the point today that I think it's just easier to get into play and get on the board with the Altaria. That's enough of a incentive for me, and I think you're more proactive at getting Goon outs when you actually play Piers in the list as well, which makes a lot more sense with the energy line that you get to play in the 60. So let me know what you guys think. Is this going to be a key contender? Is there going to be any other builds of Altaria running around, some hit and run based stuff? I'll hear it all down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for another Champions Path deck. Cheers.